Hi, and welcome back to a Screenwriter's Secret Diary podcast. Today we're talking about directing. For context, I've been an acting coach for a comedy sketch group. I've directed a web series, an audio drama show, and many award-winning short films. Now I'm ready to share all the tips I learned for directing actors, and I've never seen anyone else talk about this, so let's do this. Number 1, start with an acting exercise. This is very important for me. I learned this when I was an acting coach. Acting exercises, like if you don't do them with your actors, then they'll do it themselves if they're trained professional actors. So why not do it with them and do your own exercises that you think is gonna be helpful for this specific project. For example, if the characters hate each other, then tell your actors to stare into each other's eyes as the characters for 1 to 2 minutes. It's silence though. They have to communicate through their eyes, which is very important, by the way. Acting comes from eyes, especially acting for film. It's very different than acting for theater because I acted for theater, I did acting coaching for theater, and then I did my MFA in screenwriting, and then I learned that acting for camera and acting for film is very, very different. Eyes speak louder than anything else in your face. You can act through your eyes more than grand gestures as you would do in a theater, right? Because it's filled with audience, people are in the back, you have to exaggerate. For camera, if you exaggerate, it looks very ridiculous and, maybe for slapstick comedy. Another exercise that I tried with actors is throwing a ball, like a little ball. It can be tennis ball, it can be a ball made out of paper, which is something I did like in a class setup where we had to shoot something. I was like, let's throw balls at each other before we start. It really helps though. They don't speak, they just throw the ball at each other based on feelings. Like, are they in love? And throwing the ball as if you're in love. Are they angry with each other? Like, whatever is going on in the scene, they feel the feelings and throw balls at each other, like playing a little game of throwing a ball. This will also help you understand the actor more. For example, one of the actors that I worked with, she was not taking this seriously. So I realized she also doesn't take acting very seriously. I don't know, this is a very bad example, very sad example, but that's how it is. And then some people take it very seriously, they take it further, or they can't shut up. Like, you tell them to do it in silence, but they won't shut up. So that would tell you a lot about the actor and how you would work with them. So that's the most important thing. Every actor is different. They have a process of their own. So make sure to ask them questions. What's your process? What do you need from me? What do you think about the story? What do you think about the character? This also brings me to number 2. Ask questions. After asking questions about their process and thoughts and what they need from you, ask them, what do you think about the character? What do you think this character feels during the scene? How do they change from beginning of the scene to the end? What emotions are they going through? What is their relationship to this other character? And things like that. This will help you understand the actor and their perspective of the character, because your perspective and the actor's perspective might not be the same, and most of the time it's not the same unless you rehearsed all the time and talked about it. And an important thing to keep in mind is, I know directors usually want to be strict about their approach to the story and to the character, but I have to tell you to keep your mind open. Be open to embracing new ideas and new perspectives. You have no idea what a good cast can bring to your project. It could be spectacular, which is number 3, by the way. Sometimes there are lucky moments, lucky accidents on set that become the highlight of the movie. Like, you didn't plan to shoot it this way. You didn't plan on that dialogue, but it happened. And it's the best part of that scene, or best part of that show, or best part of the movie. That's also why I tell actors to not reset themselves if they forget a line or if they forget a dialogue. They shouldn't be like, reset and then start over. Because that's also my job. I'll talk about this later. But also some of them shout line. No, don't do it. Don't let them do it, is my biggest tip, honestly speaking. If you forget a line, it's not the end of the world. It's okay, because maybe that line wasn't natural. Maybe there's something wrong with the line. Just try to get the point across, or just look at them like in shock. Maybe your line was about being shocked, and instead you look at them shocked. The actor is like acting shocked, and it's a powerful silent moment. What about that? Instead of resetting yourself and making the editor do more job than necessary, maybe just take in the moment, take in the shock. And yeah, I basically tell my actors to not reset themselves, not shout for line. If you forgot a line, that's okay. Let it happen. And maybe when they forget a line, the actor in front of them starts seeing other things, and it's just like, oh, this is so natural. Like, these characters would do this. And you might realize that, oh, I'm forcing this scene to happen this way, but maybe it happens that way. It's okay to keep your mind open on set. That's very important. I know you have a project to get done. I know you have a vision. I know you have it all. You can get your vision in the other take. Let this take happen that way. And then take one take or two takes with your vision, but let happy accidents happen on other takes. So say this to your actors. Let yourself feel it. Let yourself feel the feelings. If you forget a line, it's not the end of the world. Do not stop. It's okay. Let it happen. Tell it to all your actors. Let the scene happen. Let the feelings happen. If you forgot a line, you don't have to say it word by word. Say however it comes. It's okay. You're making the character more natural when you forget a line, honestly speaking. Which brings me to number 4. Improv is powerful. I don't know if it's because I was an acting coach for a comedy sketch group who did a lot of improvs, by the way, but I love improv. It brings the naturality. It brings out the natural and the real feelings in the script and in the story. If you're strict about the dialogues, which sometimes writer-directors are strict about the dialogues because they wrote the script, so they want it to happen a certain way. But you are limiting yourself and you are limiting your actors. You're not letting them explore further. I invite you to be open to changes and new possibilities. Actors are there to make your script come to life. You gave birth to a baby being the script. Now it's time to let it grow, learn, and experience the world. And actors are there to do that. Script supervisors are gonna be pissed because they have to keep track of dialogue all the time. Like, they have to write down every single dialogue change, even like a little word change, onto their cam log or script supervisor log. But I don't like that. As a script supervisor as well, sometimes I'm on set as a script supervisor, I ask the director, like, do you want me to write down the dialogue changes? Because especially when it's an indie production, it's okay. It really is okay. I had so many moments where they fired a very strict script supervisor because the script supervisor wasn't helping. Instead, they were being so strict about the dialogue and like, oh, they didn't say it this way, so we have to do another take. It's like, no, calm down. It's okay. Ask the director. This is an indie set. They're probably going to edit their own script, or they're going to be in the room while the editing is being done. It's all right. Cutting is so easy in between. And also putting sound over another shot is easy. Like, that's how editing works. I don't know. All this is to say, let your actors improv. In fact, do an exercise at the beginning where they improv. Tell them to leave their scripts behind, come outside, stretch a little bit, do a little talking session with them, like, hey, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? And then afterwards be like, let's do a little exercise about this scene. So where do we start in the scene? Okay, we start as sisters getting along. And then by the end of the scene, we have a big fight. Let's improv it. You don't have to even remember the lines. Let's just see where this takes us, right? So action. Let's start. Just see what comes up. Because sometimes when you're doing that improv exercise, you're like, oh my God, they had this little moment and I want to put that in the script, and you end up actually putting that little movement or a little dialogue or little, maybe they push each other and you're like, wow, this is so good, and you add it in the script. And then you direct them accordingly. One thing that happened to me is in the middle of this improv exercise, one of the characters left. They were like so pissed. They were like, oh, and then they left. And the other character was like, what? Why are you going? And then they just left. And then afterwards, they of course came back and they were like, I'm so sorry. Like, I felt like leaving because this guy was like shouting at me. I was like, fuck you, you know? I was like, oh my God, this is so clever. My character doesn't want to stay there. Why am I forcing them to stay there? And then what happened is I added this little beat where my character walks away, but the other character closes the door and stops them from leaving, and the argument continues. So that way it's more natural. Why this happens, why this beautiful thing happens, is because when you do improv, you let your actors feel genuinely rather than trying to remember a line and trying to act with the line. Let them explore their feelings further, because they probably, if they're professional actors, they probably already studied the character really well. They talked about the gesture of the character. Maybe they play with their hair, or, you know, they know the gestures. They know the characteristics of the character. Now, let them explore it further. Let them feel it further and see what happens. Anyways, I talk too much about this because this is my passion. Improv is so powerful. You'll thank me in the editing process, because sometimes in the editing room you're like, whoa, oh my God, I forgot that this happened. What a great accident. Oh my God. Even some camera mistakes, like out of focus and things like that, suddenly you're like, oh my God, thank God it's out of focus. Because I see that character is, for example, losing their mind and it goes out of focus and comes back. It's the perfect mistake that ends up in the final cut of that movie. Very, very important. Let these things happen. Of course, I suggest that you get a full-on one take strictly with all the dialogues, with all the camera in focus and all the camera movements. But then start exploring further and see what comes out of it. Then you can edit around all the takes. That's very, very, very crucial to keep in mind and know when you're directing. Which brings me to tip number 5. Record your rehearsal. Once the lights are set up or almost set up and the assistant director calls for a blocking rehearsal, do it fully with the dialogues and everything and record it. Take 0. Record that rehearsal. You don't know what's gonna happen. And also another thing, during the rehearsal, actors are a bit more like relaxed and comfortable. So, some really good things come out of recording rehearsals, in my experience and in many other directors' experience. As a script supervisor, I tell the director, let's record the rehearsal. You're gonna thank me later. They did. I've been called on sets I've been recalled on sets so many times because the director loved me for suggesting these things that I'm sharing with you guys. Now, number 6 is method acting. Method acting is so powerful, but it can be harmful. So we're going to talk about this, okay? I don't recommend doing harmful things. That's really bad, and it will hurt your relationship with the actor. So don't do it. They won't trust you again, and they won't give you their full performance. It's very important. It's a delicate line, if you know what I mean. So I'm going to give you some examples. I directed voice actors for an audio drama show. It's behind me. I keep talking about it. Bonnie Screws Up on Spotify. If you want to check it out, it's a very fun show. As far as I got the feedback, it's got renewed for a season 2. I ran a writer's room. It's been the best experience of my life. While directing this one scene where the character had to be out of breath because they were running and they had to deliver the line out of breath, and I wanted to go to the actor and ask, hey, can you run around the building real quick and come back? Building is very small. It's just a little house studio. Just run around and come and let's press record. But before I could say it, my actor that I cast her in everything because I love her, She herself told me, like, can I run real quick and come back? And I was like, yes, please take like 1-2 minutes, run real quick, come back and let's record. So she runs, she came back, and she continues to like act like she's running. So her like voice can be, you know, jumpy a little bit and out of breath and jumpy. So it became much more realistic. But remember that there are directors that take method acting way too far, that they torture their actors, unfortunately. No human being should go through that. Don't starve your actor, for example, because they are supposed to be starving in that scene. Like, that's abuse. Don't do stuff like that. They are trained actors. They can act like they're starving even with a full stomach. They can act depressed even if they're very happy in their lives. They can act like they're in love with someone even though that someone is someone they don't know. Remember that. Don't take it further than just, you know, what I said, like running or things like that. And make sure they're comfortable with that. Like, don't force them. These are human beings. They are there to get paid and do their job. But don't force them to do things that they're not happy with or they're not comfortable with. Make sure to communicate all the time. Like, hey, are you comfortable with this? Are you comfortable with that? Like at the beginning, for example, if I have a method acting idea in my head, right at the beginning, not even beginning of the scene, like beginning of the entire project, during the rehearsals, I ask the actor, are you okay with method acting? If they say no, or if they're like, oh, last time I did it, it was really bad, then I tell my idea. What do you think about this? They're like, I'm not sure yet, but let's try it when it's time for the scene. Great, we'll try it. And if you're not comfortable, stop me right away. We don't have to continue. Like, you're an actor for a reason. We don't have to do this. Be very careful with method acting. Make sure you research. Make sure to look at bad examples of these crazy big directors, crazy but big directors doing very bad things to their actors. Don't be one of them. Also, let them know that you always got their back. If something happens on set, you are there for them. Literally. Like, that's very important. As a director, you're their comfort. It really is that way. Like, you can push them, you can get the bestest performance out of them, but make sure that you're respectful to them, because these are people. They are first people. Remember that. Their well-being is extremely important, not only for the set, but also for your connection, you know? Usually, if you realized, directors have actors that they always work with. Tarantino, Leonardo DiCaprio, and Brad Pitt. Greta Gerwig, I'm not sure, Saoirse Ronan maybe. And I even noticed I keep getting the same actors. Of course, some other cast also comes in and goes, but I have actors that I trust, that I depend on. That's very, very important. So don't disrespect anyone. Number 7, I think, set boundaries and respect boundaries. So I worked with an actress who kept resetting herself in the middle of the scene. When it was going really well, like I was very happy with the scene, she would yell reset because she didn't remember her line. But the thing is, I'm the director. Resetting is my job. And this was maybe the second or third time that I directed, so I wasn't sure how to communicate it better. But finally, I did say, I was like, hey, stop resetting yourself. Let things happen. We talked about improv. We did a lot of exercises so you wouldn't reset yourself and you would let things happen. Let yourself feel. Even if it's awkward silence, let it happen. There's no one here who would judge you for that. In fact, in the editing, maybe we'll be so happy that we got that little silent beat in take 2. It's totally fine. Another thing, this was my first ever directing. Actress was so, I don't want to say bad, but like my God, I'm having trouble speaking because this was such a traumatic experience. She walked all over everyone because, you know, we're students and she's like 45 years old maybe. I couldn't set a boundary. And that's when I realized the film sucks because I wasn't able to set a boundary with her. I learned a lot after first directing. I learned more after second directing. I learned even more after third directing, and it goes on and on and on like that. Again, I did theater directing before. I'm talking about these short films, like first one, second one, third one. It didn't help because directing for camera is much more different. Being on a set is much more different. Theater, I believe, is more professional, I want to say. Is that bad to say? I don't know. Let's go. Another boundary I remember setting was, oh gosh, this was such a hard thing, but it was so necessary. We were shooting this crazy season ending scene outside where all the characters in the entire show was going to be present in that scene, and they were all fighting, like talking over each other, and it was midnight. It was in the middle of December. It was very cold outside. So we set up the video village inside. By the video village, it's me, the script supervisor, and the assistant camera. So what happened was there were some issues with the lights because it's midnight outside, fighting scene, so many characters. Of course, we're having some camera troubles. It's okay. Like take one, take two sucks. So my DP, director of photography, is looking over the footage every now and then, right after the take. He's like, did we do it good? He's like looking at the footage. Because the actors were cold too, like it's supposed to be a summer web series that we're shooting in December. So the actors were very, very cold, and their dresses were like summer dresses. There's heater inside, so they would run inside and put on their coat. And right when you enter in, there's video village because we can't go further because of the cables and everything. So when the DP is replaying it on camera, it plays in the video village too. And the actors are sitting there. It's also after 6 hours of shooting. So they're very self-judgmental. They're like looking at themselves and being like, oh, like my nose looks this way. Oh, why is my outfit that way? Oh, let me go to makeup because I don't like my makeup. You know, they're just being judgmental, which is something you should know. Like when my editor friends work with actor directors, they're amazing, they're talented, but they need to separate themselves from the person on the screen, and they have to sit on the director chair instead of being too judgmental about like how they look and stuff. Like, we're shooting horror. Of course you're gonna look horrifying. What do you mean? For example, back to my video village story. After the second time they're looking at themselves and judging themselves, I realized their acting has gotten worse. And this is one of the most important scenes of the entire show. I can't let them do this to the show. What I had to do was, again, outside is so cold, but I had to ask the camera department to move the entire video village outside in the far corner, while no one will be able to come and look at the take. I asked the script supervisor and assistant camera to step outside for a second before I did this announcement, and I told them, I am so sorry guys, I know it's very, very cold out there, I know we're gonna freeze, but I have to do this for the good of this show. They understood, thankfully. So they all carried it outside and we continued the video village outside. That was a big boundary that I had to set to save the show. If you're the director, you make the decisions. Make the decision to save the acting. If they're seeing themselves on the screen because of some setup going wrong, you know, you have nowhere else to be, you have somewhere else to be. Please find another place, or what I could have done, which I didn't want to do, but I could have told them like, hey, stay away from the monitor. But the monitor is so big, like even if they stay far away, they're gonna see it. It's like a full-on studio house. They're gonna see themselves. So I had to make this decision, but it's okay. It's for the greater good. And similarly, actors will set boundaries. Sometimes they might be shy though. Some actors are very shy. They are people pleasers, some of them. So they might not do it, and they might feel like you keep stepping over their boundary, but they didn't even assert it. So make sure to ask them, are you okay? Do you want to communicate something? Please make sure to communicate with me so I can make sure you're okay. Even if it's stupid in your head, even if you're like, oh, this is not that important, it's important to me. Please communicate. Number 8, I think, intimacy scenes. Get an intimacy coordinator. Hire One, I don't care if you're shooting low budget. I don't care. Make a budget. Make a budget. Intimacy coordinator will change your entire intimate scene dynamics, will make your actors feel more comfortable. Because what an intimacy coordinator does is they make the scene like a dance choreography. So it doesn't feel like they're having an intimate moment. It feels like it's a dance. I'm gonna do this right hand and then left hand and then kiss and then turn and then this and then one lies down, take off the shirt kind of thing. So they make it like a dance. The intimacy coordinator brings professionalism onto the set. As a director, as a female director, I have to make sure that my actresses are comfortable, because for six years of being in Los Angeles, and I've heard so many stories from crew members who worked with a male director who made this intimacy scene just for himself, just to enjoy by himself, which is the most fucked up thing ever. Why would you do that? So intimacy coordinator makes sure that nothing like that can happen. The actors are comfortable. We know this is professional. We know that this is for the movie, and we know that this scene will bring something important to the story, because those male directors that I talked about, those ones, the sex scene has no meaning, has nothing to add to the story. That's when you wake up, actors, if you're listening, that's when you have to wake up that this is not something you want to work with. This is not a place where you are respected as a person. It's terrible. It's really is terrible out there. So intimacy coordinator, if you have intimate scenes, making out scenes. So make sure to make your actors feel respected and feel comfortable. And believe me, when there is an intimacy coordinator, their acting will be much more natural. And that's all the tips I have for directing actors. If you're new here, by the way, hi, my name is Sarah. I've been a screenwriter and filmmaker in Los Angeles for over 6 years now. And you're listening to a Screenwriter's Secret Diary podcast, where I share my no filter experiences as a screenwriter and filmmaker in Los Angeles. Thank you so much. Make sure to like this video if this was helpful. Comment down below, what are you working on? Are you gonna direct something? Are you thinking about directing something? Are you writing something? Let me know your journey. I love hearing from you guys. And thank you. See you next time.